The hybrid ship traveled toward Zephyrian space for 2 weeks. During this time, Jake and his crew learned more about the galaxy they had accidentally discovered. What they learned worried them deeply. Crystalline Dash, who sees far, spent hours explaining galactic politics to Jake. The galaxy was divided into territories controlled by different species. Each species had fought hard to claim their space and resources. Wars had been common until they developed strict rules about survival and cooperation. Every species learned the same lessons, the alien leader explained through Lisa's translation. Resources are limited. Space is dangerous. To survive, you must think carefully about every risk. You help others only when it benefits your own people. But what about compassion? Jake asked. What about helping others just because it's right? The alien's 4 eyes stared at Jake with an expression that might have been pity. Compassion is a luxury, Crystalline who sees far said. Species that are too compassionate die out. A galaxy is not a kind place, Jake human. Those who survive learn to be practical. Kate had been studying Zephyrian biology and history. What she learned made her sad. Captain, their species almost went extinct 3 times, Kate told Jake. Each time, it was because they tried to help others and got betrayed. They learned to be more careful, more suspicious. All the galaxy's species have similar histories. Ben Hayes had been talking to Zephyrian security officers. Their conversations revealed more disturbing information. Sir, they're telling me about galactic wars, Ben said. Species that were too trusting got conquered or wiped out. The ones that survived learned to put themselves first. Always. Amy Davis studied the star charts that the Zephyrians shared with them. The galaxy was enormous, with thousands of inhabited systems. But every species seemed to follow the same rules. Trust nobody, help nobody, unless you get something in return. And always be ready to abandon others to save yourself. Captain, I think we've discovered why they're so afraid of us, Amy said. We're breaking every survival rule they've learned over thousands of years. To them, we must look completely insane. The communication system brought more messages from across the galaxy. News of humanity's rescue mission had spread everywhere. Jake found himself talking to more alien species each day, and each conversation made the situation clearer. The Cordon Empire was preparing military defenses. They assumed that any species willing to sacrifice themselves for aliens must be planning some kind of attack. Their logic was simple. Nobody helps others without wanting something in return, so humans must have hidden motives. The Talaxi Federation was worried about economic chaos. If other species started copying human behavior and giving aid without payment, their entire trade system would collapse. They were discussing ways to limit human influence. The Zerian Collective was running computer models, trying to predict human behavior. Their calculations kept failing because human actions didn't follow logical patterns. This made them think humans were either extremely stupid or extremely dangerous. Dozens of other species sent similar messages. All of them were afraid of humanity. For the same reason, humans cared about others more than they cared about themselves. Captain, Lisa said after a particularly long session with alien communications, they're holding emergency meetings about us. Every major species in the galaxy is trying to figure out what to do about humans. Jake felt sick. We saved lives. How did that become a threat? Because, Crystalline who sees far explained, you saved lives in a way that nobody else would. You gave up your ship, risked your safety, abandoned your mission. No other species would do this for aliens. It makes you unpredictable. Unpredictable species are dangerous. On the 10th day of their journey, they received a formal message from something called the Galactic Council. It was a group of the most powerful species in the galaxy, and they had an official statement about humanity. Lisa translated the message with a shaking voice. To the human species, your recent actions have caused concern among galactic civilizations. Your willingness to sacrifice yourselves for unknown aliens demonstrates behavioral patterns incompatible with galactic stability. You are hereby classified as a potentially dangerous species pending further evaluation. Jake stared at the translation. Humanity hadn't even known the galactic community existed, and they were already being treated as a threat. What does this mean? Jake asked. Crystalline Who Sees Far's response was grim. It means that if humans try to join the galactic community, every other species. The rescue took 4 long days. Ryan and his team worked around the clock, taking apart the USS Meridian piece by piece. They moved the human life support systems, power cores, and computers into the alien ship. It was dangerous work, especially in the areas damaged by the energy storm. The humans did most of the dangerous jobs. The radiation that was slowly killing the aliens barely affected human biology. Jake watched his crew risk their lives over and over again to save creatures they had just met. Kate worked with the alien medical officers to understand Zephyrian biology. She learned that the crystalline beings were much more fragile than humans. They needed specific temperatures, gas mixtures, and protection from radiation that would barely bother a human. Their whole species is built for a safer world than ours, Kate explained to Jake. They come from a planet with no dangerous weather, no radiation, no predators. They've never had to be tough like humans. During the long repair work, Lisa spent hours talking with the aliens. She learned their language better each day. The conversations revealed things about Zephyrian culture that surprised her. Captain, they're asking me a lot of questions about human history, Lisa said. They want to know if we always act this way. What do you mean? They're asking if humans regularly risk their lives to save strangers. I told them about firefighters, lifeguards, search and rescue teams. About how human soldiers sometimes die, protecting civilians from other countries. Jake nodded. What did they think of that? Lisa looked troubled. Sir, I think it frightened them. They asked if humans are a warrior species. When I said no, they got more confused. They can't understand why a peaceful species would have so many people willing to die for others. During the 3rd day, something unexpected happened. Crystalline, who sees far, approached Jake with urgent musical sounds. He says they've been in contact with their homeworld, Lisa translated. News of our rescue mission is spreading through their communication networks. Jake was pleased. That's good, right? Their people will know they're being saved. But Lisa's face looked worried as she continued translating. Captain, he says the news is spreading beyond just the Zephyrians. There are other species in this part of space, lots of them. They all communicate with each other. Jake felt his heart skip a beat. Other species? How many other species? Dozens, sir. Maybe hundreds. Crystalline, who sees far, says there's a whole galactic community out here. Humans never knew about it because we were too far away. This was bigger than first contact with one alien species. Humanity had just discovered an entire galaxy full of intelligent life. What are they saying about us? Jake asked. Lisa listened to the alien leader for a long time. Her expression grew more concerned with each translation. Sir, they're all talking about what we did here. About how we sacrificed our ship to save aliens we'd never met. And Captain ... Lisa paused. They're scared of us. Scared? Why would they be scared? Crystalline, who sees far, says that every species in the galaxy follows certain rules about survival. When resources are limited, you save your own people first. When there's danger, you calculate the risks before acting. You don't throw away your lives for strangers. Jake was starting to understand, but he didn't like where this was going. He says humans are the first species they've encountered that seems to ignore these basic survival rules, Lisa continued. They think we might be dangerous because our behavior is so unpredictable. Over the next day, more information came through the alien communication networks. Jake learned that the galaxy was full of different species, each with their own territories and cultures. They traded with each other, sometimes fought, and had formed complex political relationships over thousands of years. But they all shared certain basic ideas about survival and self-preservation. None of them understood why humans would risk everything for aliens. "Captain," Lisa said after a long conversation with Crystalline, who sees far. "He's been talking to representatives from other species. They want to meet with you." "Meet with me? Here?" "Through their communication system. They have something like our video calls, but more advanced. They want to see the humans who did this impossible rescue." Jake agreed to the meeting. Soon, he found himself looking at holographic images of creatures from across the galaxy. There were beings that looked like giant insects, others that seemed to be made of living metal, and some that were just patterns of light and energy. Each species asked Jake the same questions. Why did humans risk so much for strangers? What did they hope to gain? What was their real purpose? Jake tried to explain human values as best he could. He talked about compassion, about helping others in need, about the human belief that all intelligent life had value. But his words seemed to make the aliens more nervous, not less. A representative of something called the Cordon Empire spoke through a translation device. Its voice was deep and harsh. "Human Jake," it said, "your species claims to help others without payment. This is not logical. In war, an enemy that does not abandon its people cannot be defeated through normal means. How do we defend against creatures who will die rather than surrender their comrades?" Jake was shocked. "We're not your enemy. We don't want to fight anyone." But the alien military leader didn't seem convinced. Species that break survival rules are unpredictable. Unpredictable species are dangerous. A creature from something called the Talaxi Federation asked different questions. It looked like a cross between an octopus and a computer. "Human behavior threatens economic stability," it said in a voice like electronic music. "If species begin giving aid without payment, trade relationships become unstable. How do we maintain market balance if creatures give away resources freely?" More aliens asked more questions, each more worried than the last. Jake began to realize that humanity's greatest strength, their willingness to help others, was seen as a threat by species who had learned to survive through careful calculation and self-interest. Finally, an ancient-looking being made of pure energy spoke. It called itself Azerian, and its voice sounded like whispers. "Young species," it said, "your behavior suggests emotional instability. In our calculations, species that prioritize others over themselves do not survive long in a dangerous galaxy. Yet you have survived. This suggests either great luck or great hidden strength. Which is it?" Jake didn't know how to answer that question. Humans had never thought of compassion as a strength or a weakness. It was just who they were. The meeting ended with more questions than answers. The aliens all seemed afraid of humanity, even though humans had only tried to help. Jake felt a deep sadness as he realized that humanity's first contact with the galactic community was not going to be the peaceful meeting of minds he had always imagined. On the 5th day, the repairs were complete. The hybrid ship, part human and part Zephyrian, was ready to take everyone to safety. But Jake knew that their real journey was just beginning. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, but they had discovered a galaxy that feared them for the very qualities that made them most human. As the hybrid ship prepared to leave the energy storm, Jake wondered what kind of future awaited them among the stars. Would humans ever find acceptance among species who couldn't understand their compassion? Or would they always be seen as the dangerous aliens who cared too much about others? The universe had just become a much bigger and more complicated place. Ben Hayes led the boarding party to the alien ship. Jake, Kate, and Ryan with him. They wore special suits to protect them from the strange energy around the ship. Their hearts pounded as they approached the airlock of the first alien vessel humans had ever seen. The airlock was different from human designs, but they figured out how to open it. The inside of the alien ship was dark and cold. Emergency lights cast strange shadows on the walls. The air was thin and smelled like metal and something else they couldn't identify. "Stay close together," Ben said. "We don't know what we might find." They moved through corridors that were too tall for humans. Everything was built for creatures much bigger than them. The walls had a smooth, flowing design that looked almost alive. But the ship felt dead now, with most systems shut down to save power. "This way," Lisa's voice came through their radios. She was back on the USS Meridian, talking to the aliens and guiding the boarding party. "They say their command center is ahead." They found the command center after 10 minutes of walking. It was a huge room with curved walls and strange control panels. And there Jake saw aliens for the first time. They were tall, maybe 8 feet high, with thin bodies that seemed to be made of crystal. Their skin was clear like glass, and Jake could see strange fluids moving inside them. They had 4 eyes, arranged in a square pattern on their faces, and their hands had 6 fingers each. 3 of the aliens were still awake. The rest lay in special beds, sleeping to save oxygen. The awake aliens moved slowly, like they were very tired. One of the aliens approached them. It made musical sounds that Lisa translated through their radios. "This is Crystalline, who sees far," Lisa said. "He's their leader. He wants to know if we're really here to help them." Jake stepped forward. Even through his helmet, he could see that the alien leader looked weak and desperate. "Tell him yes," Jake said. "We're here to help however we can." Lisa translated this. The alien leader made more musical sounds, and his 4 eyes stared at Jake with an expression that might have been confusion. "He's asking what we want in return," Lisa said. "What payment we expect." "Nothing," Jake said. "We don't want anything. We're just helping." When Lisa translated this, all 3 awake aliens made rapid musical sounds to each other. They seemed upset or confused by Jake's answer. Kate moved to examine the sleeping aliens. She ran her medical scanner over them and frowned. "Captain, these creatures are dying," Kate said. "Their life support has been failing for weeks. They're slowly suffocating and freezing." Ryan looked at the alien ship's systems. Even with his engineering knowledge, the alien technology was hard to understand, but he could see the problems. "Their power core is almost dead," Ryan said. "Their air recycling system is failing, and their navigation computer is completely broken. They can't even tell which direction their home is." Jake looked around at the dying ship and the desperate aliens. The situation was even worse than he had feared, but that just made him more determined to help. "What do we need to do?" Jake asked. Ryan thought for a moment. "Captain, our ship is too small to carry 200 aliens. And even if we could, we don't have enough life support for everyone. We need a different plan." "What kind of plan?" "We'd have to combine both ships somehow," Ryan said. "Use their big hull, but our working life support systems. It would mean taking apart most of our ship." Jake stared at Ryan. "You mean destroy the USS Meridian?" "Essentially, yes, sir. We'd have to strip out our life support, our power systems, our computers, install them on their ship. It would take days of work, and we'd never be able to separate the ships again." Ben Hayes looked worried. "Captain, if we do that, we'll be stuck here too. We won't be able to get home." Kate was still examining the aliens. "Captain, there's another problem." These creatures are more sensitive to radiation than humans. The energy storm around us is slowly killing them, but it barely affects us. If we're going to do the repair work, humans will have to do the dangerous parts. Jake felt the weight of this decision. His crew was asking him to sacrifice their ship and risk their lives to save aliens they had just met. It went against every rule of space exploration, but it felt like the right thing to do. How long would the repairs take? Jake asked. At least 3 days, Ryan said. Maybe more. And that's if everything goes perfectly. Jake looked at the alien leader. Through his helmet, he could see that Crystalline, who sees far, was watching him with all 4 eyes. The alien seemed to understand that the humans were discussing something important. Lisa, ask him if he understands what we're proposing, Jake said. Lisa translated the question. The alien leader responded with rapid musical sounds. Other aliens who had been sleeping began to wake up when they heard the conversation. Captain, Lisa said, he says he understands. But he's confused about why we would sacrifice our ship for theirs. He says that in their culture, species survival comes first. They would never destroy their own ship to save aliens. More aliens were waking up now. Jake could see dozens of them gathering around, all staring at the humans with their strange 4-eyed faces. They made soft musical sounds to each other, clearly talking about the strange creatures who had come to help them. He's asking if we're sure about this, Lisa continued. He says that once we start, we won't be able to change our minds. We'll be committed to saving them, even if it means dying ourselves. Jake looked at his crew. Ben looked scared but determined. Kate was already preparing medical supplies. Ryan was studying the alien systems, figuring out how to make the repairs work. What do you think? Jake asked them. I think we came here to save lives, Kate said. That's what we should do. I can make the repairs work, Ryan said. It won't be easy, but I can do it. I'll support whatever you decide, Captain, Ben said, but I think we should try. Jake turned back to the alien leader. 200 intelligent beings would die if they didn't act. The USS Meridian would be destroyed, and they might never see Earth again, but they would save 200 lives. Lisa, tell him we're going to do it, Jake said. Tell him we're going to save everyone. Lisa translated this message. The response from the aliens was immediate and surprising. They began making loud musical sounds, and many of them stepped back from the humans as if they were afraid. Captain, Lisa said, her voice worried, I think our answer scared them. They're asking why we would do something so illogical. They're asking if humans are dangerous. Jake was confused. Dangerous? We're trying to save them. I know, sir. But I think that's what scares them. They can't understand why we would sacrifice ourselves for strangers. To them, our behavior doesn't make sense. Jake looked around at the gathering aliens. They were all staring at the humans now, and their body language seemed fearful. These creatures had called for help, but now that help had arrived, they seemed terrified of their rescuers. Tell them not to worry, Jake said. We're not dangerous. We just want to help. But even as Lisa translated his words, Jake could see the fear in the alien's 4 eyes. For the first time, he wondered if helping others might not always be seen as a good thing. Maybe, to creatures who thought differently than humans, their compassion looked like something else entirely, something scary. 3 weeks passed slowly on the USS Meridian. The ship pushed through space at maximum speed, eating up fuel and putting stress on every system. Jake watched his crew work harder than ever before. They all knew this mission might be their last. Ryan. Cooper barely slept. He spent every hour checking the engines and making small repairs. The ship was working beyond its limits, and small problems kept appearing. A coolant leak here, an overheated circuit there. Ryan fixed each one, but he looked more tired every day. Captain, Ryan said one morning, The engines are holding up, but just barely. We're burning fuel faster than I calculated. We might not have enough for the return trip." Jake nodded. He had expected this news, but it still worried him. "How much time do we have when we reach the aliens?" "Maybe 6 hours of fuel for rescue operations," Ryan said. "After that, we'll be stuck out there with them." Dr. Kate Sullivan had been preparing for the unknown. She studied every medical book and alien theory she could find. Nobody knew what alien biology would be like, but she wanted to be ready. "I've prepared medical supplies for different types of creatures," Kate told Jake. "But honestly, I'm just guessing. They might breathe different gases, have different blood, need different temperatures. I might not be able to help them at all." "Lisa." John kept listening to the distress signal. It grew weaker each day, but she could understand more of it now. The aliens had included mathematical concepts and basic pictures in their message. Slowly, she was learning their language. "Captain, I think I know more about them now," Lisa said. "They call themselves something like Zephyrians. Their ship has about 200 crew members. Most of them are in some kind of sleep to save oxygen." "What happened to their ship?" Jake asked. "From what I can understand, they got lost in some kind of space storm," Lisa explained. "Their navigation broke, and they can't find their way home. Their power is almost gone." Amy Davis studied the star charts of their destination. The Kepler 442 system was at the edge of explored space. Strange energy readings came from that area, things that human scientists didn't understand. "Captain, there's something odd about where we're going," Amy said. "The space around Kepler 442 has unusual energy patterns. It might be dangerous for our ship, too." "What kind of dangerous?" Jake asked. "The energy could interfere with our computers and engines," Amy explained. "If we're not careful, we could end up just as lost as the aliens." Ben Hayes prepared weapons and security equipment, but he wasn't sure what they might face. Were these aliens friendly? Were they dangerous? Would there be other threats in that part of space? "I've got security teams ready," Ben told Jake. "But we're going in blind. We don't know anything about these creatures or what we might find." On the 20th day of their journey, Lisa picked up a new signal. This one was much stronger. "Captain, I'm getting a direct communication from the alien ship," Lisa said excitedly. "They know we're coming." Jake hurried to the communication station. "Can you talk to them?" "I think so," Lisa said. She had been working on their language for weeks. "It's basic, but we can share simple ideas." Jake took a deep breath. This would be the first conversation between humans and aliens in history. "Tell them we're here to help," Jake said. Lisa sent the message using the alien language patterns she had learned. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then a response came back. Lisa listened carefully, then looked up at Jake with amazement. In her eyes, "Captain, they're asking why we came. They want to know why we traveled so far to help strangers." Jake thought about this question. It seemed obvious to him, but maybe it wasn't obvious to aliens. "Tell them we help others who are in trouble," Jake said. "It's what we do." Lisa sent this message. The response came back quickly, and Lisa's face showed confusion. "Sir, they're having trouble understanding our answer. They keep asking for a better reason. They want to know what we gain from helping them." Jake frowned. "What we gain?" "Tell them we don't need to gain anything. Helping others is the right thing to do." This message seemed to cause even more confusion. The aliens sent several rapid messages back and forth with Lisa. She looked more puzzled with each exchange. "Captain, I don't think they understand us," Lisa said. "They seem confused about why we would risk our lives for creatures we've never met. In their culture, I think species only help themselves." On the 21st day, they finally arrived at the Kepler 442 system. What they found there took everyone's breath away. A massive alien ship floated in space near a swirling cloud of energy. The cloud was beautiful, but clearly dangerous. Lightning-like. Bolts of power shot through it, and strange colors shifted and moved in patterns that hurt to look at. "That must be the space storm they got caught in," Amy said. "No wonder they're lost. That energy cloud is interfering with everything. Our computers can barely work near it." The alien ship was unlike anything humans had ever imagined. It was huge, maybe 10 times bigger than the USS Meridian. Its hull was smooth and curved, almost like it had been grown rather than built. But it was clearly dying. Lights flickered weakly along its surface, and pieces of debris floated around it. "Life signs?" Jake asked. Kate checked her medical scanners. "I'm reading life forms, but faintly. Most of the ship is cold and dark. They've shut down almost everything to save power. Can we get close enough to help them?" Jake asked. Ryan studied the situation. "The energy from that cloud is dangerous, but I think we can get close enough. We'll have to be very careful." Jake made his decision. "Take us in. Then, prepare a boarding party. Kate, get your medical supplies ready. Lisa, keep talking to them. Let them know we're coming aboard." As the USS Meridian moved closer to the alien ship, Jake felt the weight of history on his shoulders. Whatever happened next would change humanity forever. They were about to meet another intelligent species for the first time, but he was worried about something Lisa had said. Why were the aliens so confused about human motivations? Why was it so hard for them to understand that humans would help? Strangers in need? "Captain," Lisa said, "they're asking again why we're doing this. They say their ship is too damaged to ever repay us. They have nothing to offer us in trade. They don't understand why we keep coming." Jake looked out at the dying alien ship. Inside were 200 intelligent beings who would die without help. To him, that was reason enough. "Tell them," Jake said, "that humans don't leave others behind. Even if we don't know them, even if it's dangerous. That's just who we are." Lisa sent the message. The response that came back made her face go pale. "Captain," she said quietly, "I think that answer scared them." Captain Jake Morrison sat in his chair on the bridge of the USS Meridian. The ship had been traveling through space for 3 months now. They were far from Earth, exploring new star systems and looking for planets that might support human life. It was quiet work, but Jake loved it. Out here, among the stars, everything felt possible. The bridge was small but comfortable. 5 crew members worked at their stations. Lisa Zhang sat at the communications desk, listening to radio signals from space. Ryan Cooper watched the ship's engines from his engineering station. Amy Davis studied star charts and planet readings. At the science station, Ben Hayes kept watch for any dangers at the security post. Dr. Kate Sullivan sometimes came to the bridge, but she spent most of her time in the medical bay. They were good people, Jake thought. All of them had volunteered for this long mission. They knew they might not see Earth again for years, but they wanted to help humanity reach for the stars. "Captain," Lisa said suddenly. Her voice was excited. "I'm getting something strange." Jake turned to look at her. Lisa was the best communications officer in the fleet. If she said something was strange, it was worth hearing about. "What kind of strange?" Jake asked. Lisa put her hand to her ear. She was listening to something through her headphones. Her face looked confused and worried at the same time. "It's a signal, sir, but it's not like anything I've ever heard before. The frequency is all wrong, and the pattern." She stopped talking and adjusted some controls. "Captain, I don't think this signal is human." The bridge went quiet. Everyone stopped what they were doing and looked at Lisa. In all their years of space travel, humans had never found any sign of other intelligent life. Scientists had always said it was possible, but actually finding it was something else entirely. "Are you sure?" Jake asked. His heart was beating faster now. I'm running it through all our databases, Lisa said. Her fingers moved quickly over her keyboard. No match for any human language or code. The mathematics are different too. This is definitely alien. Amy Davis looked up from her science station. What's the signal saying? Lisa worked for several minutes, trying to decode the message. Everyone watched her in silence. The only sounds were the soft hum of the ship's engines and the beeping of computers. Finally, Lisa looked up. Her face was pale. It's a distress call, she said. I can't understand all of it, but the basic meaning is clear. Someone is in trouble. Their ship is dying. Life support is failing. They're asking for help. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Somewhere out there, in the cold darkness of space, unknown creatures were dying. They were calling out, hoping someone would hear them and come to help. Where is the signal coming from? Jake asked. Lisa checked her instruments. The Kepler 442 system, sir. About 3 weeks away at maximum burn. Ryan Cooper looked up from his engineering station. Captain, we don't have enough fuel for a round trip that long. If we go there, we might not make it back to Earth. Jake nodded. He had expected this problem. The USS Meridian was an exploration ship, not a rescue vessel. They carried enough supplies for their planned mission, but not much extra. How much fuel would we need? Jake asked. Ryan ran some calculations on his computer. We could make it. There, sir. But the return trip would be tight, very tight. And that's assuming we don't use any extra fuel for rescue operations. Amy Davis spoke up. Captain, this could be first contact with an alien species. Think about what this means for humanity. We have to try. But if we die out there, nobody on Earth will ever know what happened to us, Ben Hayes said. And nobody will know about the aliens either. Jake looked around at his crew. They were all good people, but they were scared. He was scared too. This was the biggest decision any human had ever had to make. Do they risk their lives to save unknown aliens? Or do they play it safe and return to Earth with news of the signal? The alien distress call continued to play softly in the background. It sounded weak and desperate. Whoever was sending it was running out of time. How long do we have to decide? Jake asked. Lisa listened to the signal again. The message is getting weaker, Captain. I'd say they have maybe a few days before their transmitter dies completely. After that, we'll never find them. Jake closed his eyes and thought. He remembered why he had joined the space program. It wasn't just to explore new worlds. It was to help humanity grow and become better. Part of being human was helping others, even when it was dangerous. Ryan, Jake said, prepare the ship for maximum burn. Plot a course for Kepler 442. Ryan stared at him. Sir, are you sure? This is a big risk. I know, Jake said. But someone is out there dying. They sent out a call for help. If we don't answer it, who will? Amy smiled. I think it's the right choice, Captain. Lisa nodded. Me too. Ben looked worried, but he said, I'll support whatever decision you make, sir. Ryan sighed, but he started preparing the engines. I just hope we're not flying to our deaths. Jake stood up and walked to the front of the bridge. Through the big window, he could see millions of stars. Somewhere out there, alien beings were waiting for help that might never come. Lisa, record. A message to Earth Command, Jake said. Tell them we've received an alien distress signal and are proceeding to investigate. Include all the data we have. Yes, sir. Jake thought about what else to say. If they didn't survive this mission, that message would be the last thing Earth ever heard from them. Tell them we know this is dangerous, Jake continued. But we believe this is what humanity should do. We help others when they need help. It doesn't matter if they're human or not. The USS Meridian changed course. The engines burned brighter, pushing the ship faster than it had ever gone before. Behind them, Earth grew smaller and more distant. Ahead of them lay the unknown. The alien distress signal continued to play, weaker now, but still calling out into the darkness. Jake listened to it and made a promise to himself. Whatever creatures had sent that signal, they would not die alone. Humanity was coming.